WhatsApp 287-0971. Call the office at 572-0383 or 572-0215. Rev-Up St. Lucia, the alpha of radio.
A beautiful morning to one and all. That was a short presentation on democracy by independent candidate for Ancillary and Canneries, Mr. Edwin St. Rose. Up next, we have Meet the Opposition. Also note that that presentation on democracy will have a repeat at 11 a.m. Right now, though, it's time for Meet the Opposition. And in studio, I have with me Public Relations Officer for the United Workers' Party, Mr. Let me let him introduce himself to the world once again.
Spider-Montoot.
Mr. Leonard Spider-Montoot,
Yes,
welcome.
Yes, thank you very much, and it's a pleasure you being with us today instead of Andre.
Yes, it's good to be here as well.
But so far, you sound really good. I mean,
Thank
I can
you.
imagine you probably have learned quite a lot from Andre. And
Yes, please.
you're certainly giving a good account of yourself. It's nice to see young people, getting into the field and so on.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much, Mr.
Yes, but
Montoot.
let me say a special good morning to all our viewers and listeners, especially those of you in the diaspora that we know you are tuning in every week to listen to us. And today on Meet the Opposition, we are going to discuss a host of subjects. And let me just indicate from the onset that I have a special guest today, and that is Senator Dominic Fede, who is the Deputy Political Leader of the United Workers' Party, and in fact, the endorsed candidate for the Ancillary Canneries constituency. And he will be here to first and foremost clear up a couple of matters and then to have some discussions with me. I know he has another engagement, but we'll probably spend an hour or so together before he departs, and then we will continue our discussions, and at some point we'll be opening the lines to you so that you can call in to have your say and make your suggestions, ask your questions, what have you. But this morning I want to start with a matter that I was moved to highlight yesterday when I saw what I thought was a disturbing trend, which is consistent with the MO, the modus operandi of the St. Lucia Labour Party, and that is to blur the lines between party and government. And so, we know that, with the allegations of candidates of the St. Lucia Labour Party who are just candidates, not members of cabinet, not members of parliament, going around distributing vouchers, government vouchers, to individuals. Now, that in itself is highly inappropriate, and that is using government, or rather taxpayers' resources for personal gain, for personal interest, for personal aggrandizement, and that is with a view to buying votes. And I think that that is highly inappropriate, that is highly unacceptable, and in a democracy, that should not be a practice that should be encouraged, and we should, in fact, condemn it in all its forms. But then on Monday, as you are aware, there is cabinet meeting, but then at some point they usually have a press briefing, a cabinet press briefing, and I happened to see some clips from the cabinet press briefing, and lo and behold, quite apart from the fact that the Prime Minister, with all the problems that we have, especially with crime that is a responsibility of his, he being the National Security Minister, the Prime Minister chose to spend most of his time talking on partisan issues as opposed to matters of state. But what was even worse was that Lisa Joae, who is a candidate of the St. Lucia Labour Party for the constituency of Castries Southeast, was introduced, brought into the cabinet press briefing to talk about her launching that had taken place the day before. Now, I want to ask the question, what in the world does that have to do with government? How does that relate to matters of state? That is a clear abuse of state resources and state institutions to advance partisan interests. And that is wrong. That must be condemned, that cannot be condoned. And to think that the Prime Minister would be party to that kind of behavior, that is appalling. And so, no sooner had I made a call to another talk show and expressed my views about it, while scrolling on social media, I saw a piece by an individual. I don't have his permission to call his name, so I won't. But once he hears the piece, he would recognize it, and so I'm not taking credit for it, but I thought it was quite interesting. It's a little lengthy, but I think it is worthwhile reading through it. The piece is captioned, "The SLP's Dangerous Dance with Party Paramountcy." The recent action by the St. Lucia Labour Party, SLP administration, where Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre used an official cabinet press briefing to platform SLP endorsed candidate Lisa Joae to discuss her political launch, is more than an ethical lapse. It is clear manifestation of party paramountcy and an active subversion of democratic governance. With that, I fully agree. Party paramountcy is a political doctrine where the interests and directives of the ruling political party are placed above those of the state and its institutions. In this framework, the line between the party and the state is deliberately erased. State resources, platforms, and authority are leveraged explicitly for the party's electoral advantage. Governing becomes synonymous with maintaining the party's power, often at the expense of fair competition, civil service neutrality, and the public good. Now, the person went on to write a little bit about what took place in Guyana, the ghost of Guyana, a warning from history. And it says, the most infamous example of party paramountcy in the Caribbean is under Forbes Burnham in Guyana. Burnham's People National Congress institutionalized this doctrine, and it led to the politicization of the civil service. Government jobs and contracts went to party loyalists. They had control of state media. The state apparatus was used as a propaganda machine for the ruling party. The administrative machinery of the state was deployed to ensure the ruling party's victory, undermining free and fair elections. Erosion of democracy. This created a virtual one-party state for decades, severely damaging Guyana's democratic fabric and social cohesion. Now, the person sought to link the example to the SLP's action. The invitation of Lisa Joae to a cabinet briefing, the highest forum of state executive power, to discuss a partisan political event, is a textbook case of applying the logic of party paramountcy. The SLP is engaging in the same dangerous blurring of lines, albeit at an earlier stage. Using state platforms for party business, the cabinet press conference is a state resource, paid for by all taxpayers. Its purpose is to discuss state matters. By converting it into a platform for a candidate's launch, the SLP is signaling that the party's campaign is synonymous with the governance of the state. The presence of the Prime Minister and the cabinet backdrop confers an undue aura of official state endorsement on Ms. Lisa Jawai, an advantage not available to her opponents. This is a direct attempt to use state influence to persuade voters. In fairness, this act demonstrates a willingness to distort the democratic process. It shows that the SLP prioritizes its own electoral success over the fundamental principles of a level playing field, which is the cornerstone of a healthy democracy. The situation in Guyana under Forbes Burnham stands as a stark warning of where the doctrine of party paramountcy can lead. It begins with seemingly small acts like using a state press conference for a party promotion and can escalate into the systemic erosion of democratic norms. This move by the SLP is not just politics as usual. It is a deliberate step towards establishing party dominance over state institutions. All St. Lucians who value democracy, fair play, and genuine governance that puts country before party must strongly condemn this action. It is imperative to reject this slide towards party paramountcy before it becomes entrenched. I want to say that I wholly and fully endorse that piece that was presented on social media by that individual. It actually elaborated on the matter a lot better than I would. And I want to say again that I condemn that action because we have seen in many other different forms where it is all about parties' business, parties' interests ahead of state matters and good governance. So much for that. Now, there'll be a lot more to be said about Lisa Joahi, but she should know herself that that was highly inappropriate and she should not have engaged in that. So much for that. Now, I want to turn to my guest this morning because, as I said, he has another engagement and he'll have to be leaving me early, so I want to get as much time with my guest as possible. Senator Dominic Fede, welcome again.
Thank you.
To Meet the Opposition.
Thank
or
you.
Should
Welcome.
I say, Meet the Government in Waiting.
Meet the government in waiting.
Right.
It's been a long time coming, but it's going to be here very soon.
Yes, and despite your busy schedule today, I insisted that I wanted you here because there are a couple burning issues that I wanted to raise with you. And of course, I know you'll not leave here without us touching a little on your constituency, ancillary canneries. But before we go there, I want to raise something that has been in the media in the past before, and I know that you have dealt with it. But true to form, the St. Lucia Labour Party, what they do is spread propaganda, disseminate lies, and keep repeating it with the hope that through repetition, that people will believe it and it will become true. Well, a lie can never become true. A lie is a lie. And your opponent, Senator Fede, Honorable Wayne Girard, who's the present sitting MP for ancillary canneries, I know he's under pressure, yes, but that is no excuse for an individual to malign and slander another in the name of politics. So, Wayne Girard has said, first of all, there are two matters that I want to deal with. I don't know if he said anything else, but I want to deal specifically with those two matters. That you, first and foremost, used a community idea, business idea, for your own gain. So in other words, it was a community proposal, or you took it and made it your own business. I'm talking here now about the bamboo rafting business that you own in the Roseau area. Now, I know you have dealt with it before, but forgive me, it keeps coming up because your opponent keeps repeating it. And I believe that as often as they repeat it, as often as you should debunk it and expose them for the lies that they are. So I'm asking you now, what do you have to say on that allegation made by your opponent, Wayne Girard?
Absolutely ridiculous. And Girard knows it as well. He will have his day in court, and he will have to prove to the court that what he has said about this is true. You know, Spider, when I was in government, Well, I go back to my private life. I worked with a Jamaican company for many, many years. And I went to Jamaica for meetings, for work assignments. And during those retreats and so on, you would go on the different tours that Jamaica had to offer. So the first time I encountered bamboo rafting was actually while I was working for a Jamaican company. I spent about 16 years with that organization, and I learned quite a bit. And so for me to have to come to a farming community to learn about bamboo rafting, that's absolutely a ridiculous assertion from Wayne. You know, when I talked to the constituents in Jacmel, where he claimed the idea came from, no one could remember the meeting. No one could remember the discussion. So this is all fabricated by Wayne Girard. And we know why. We know because Wayne Girard is in a lot of trouble in the constituency. He has been missing in action for 4 years. And I think that this is a last-minute, desperate attempt to try to save himself. So when a man is drowning, Spider, and you're trying to save him, he will pull you down. So I understand what's at play. But what I don't agree with is the manner that he's trying to gain political points. In that, if he wants to come and have a discussion about what we will do for the constituency, what have I done versus what he has done, let's compare those years. Let's see how we have progressed ancillary canneries over the two different tenures. And let's then look at who has a better idea. I think both of us haven't served for quite some time. That's where the discussion should be. But Girard wants to play very nasty in this campaign, and you know it's really unfortunate. It's what desperate people do.
Yeah.
What really hurts Girard is the fact that there are 24 people that would be employed in the high season. There are people who have been with the company from the beginning. They're from the Roseau canneries area. They're all doing very, very well. It is a signature in the constituency, and I'm very proud of what the young men have been able to do. They have made Roseau very famous as a tourist destination. They have put Roseau on the map, and you know, I think that they do so with dignity and pride. What he should be doing as the MP is coming and give the business support. I must tell you that the government is speaking at both sides of their mouth. On the one hand, they bring all their journalists, all their travel agents to the St. Lucia bamboo rafting facility, and they promote this internationally because this is something that's good for St. Lucia, and it is something that is good for tourists and for tourism. But the suggestion that someone stole an idea, it really is cheap, weak, desperate, and everything that I've come to expect of Wayne Girard and the St. Lucia Labour Party.
Yeah, well, most certainly your assertion about his desperation is evident. I mean, the Prime Minister himself has all but admitted to that by the admonitions, the warnings, the call on him to double up his effort and making the excuses for him that he has done and so on. Although I suspect it's just a little too late for all of that, and so perhaps he's clutching at straws now. But
Spider, I want to tell the people of St. Lucia that the company started way after the United Workers' Party lost the last election. It was done in opposition. Okay. In fact, at times I felt that there were people within the government that were working against me. It took us about almost a year and a half. Right? And by this time, I'm now in opposition. And it took us almost about a year and a half to get all the licenses and all the approvals we need, and all the different agencies that need to approve the operation before we can get going. You know, we needed about 13 different licenses to get going. And I refused to start the company without any one of those licenses because I know what would happen to me politically. And it's been very, very difficult. And we did so without zero concessions, without any help from Girard, the MP, the Minister of Tourism. I had no power. I was in opposition doing this. So it really is extremely ridiculous. The assertion made by Gerard, totally fabricated. And so he will have his day in court to prove what he's saying.
Okay. Now, having cleared the air on this, so you're saying categorically that there's no truth?
Oh, absolutely not. Ridiculous.
Okay.
Ridiculous.
There is another claim being made again by Wayne Gerard, directed at you. And that is, well, first of all, let me say, I recall that when you were parliamentary representative of ancillary canneries, that you began a fundraising effort to raise funds for the purchase of an ambulance for canneries, I think it was. And the reason why I am familiar with it is because at that time I was Minister of Social Transformation, and the SSDF fell under my portfolio. And you approached me and my permanent secretary to find out whether you could be permitted to channel the funds that were raised into the SSDF, which we agreed to. And it was the SSDF managing the funds that were being raised. That much I know. I must confess to you that after the fundraising efforts that I checked, and I knew that there were funds coming in. But of course I demitted office after that. I cannot tell you what became of those funds, what happened to those funds. But I'm now hearing your opponent, who is now the parliamentary representative for ancillary canneries, talking about the fundraising effort in a negative light and casting aspersions, suggesting that the money is unaccounted for. Now, I have my own views about that, but I have you here now, so I want to hear from you, really, what became of that money.
Yeah. Again, another desperation. This was back in 2019, Spider,
Yes.
where we had the first and only fundraiser. And we know what happened in 2020.
COVID.
So we had a lunch at Royalton. And I felt that if I was going to reach out to corporates in Lucia, that we needed to have a very solid proposal. I mean, if somebody comes and they say to you, I would like to do a charitable event, first of all, you would want to make sure that it is legit, and then the accountability was very solid and firm. So for me, it made sense for us to put the funds into a reputable government agency. And so what we did was we had all checks written to SSDF. Spider, I had a press conference before. I've made several press statements saying to the people of St. Lucia, the Labour Party are aware of it, and I have made it absolutely clear that all the monies went to SSDF. I got a statement from SSDF in 2022, which is some 5 years later. And in 2022, this is me in opposition, SSDF indicated to me that there was $29,000 left in the account after all the expenses were cleared, paying Royalton for the hosting of the venue and for the lunch that they prepared for the patrons that came and so on. And we couldn't do another fundraiser after 2019 because of COVID,
right?
But the monies are there. What is unfortunate is that they're not really interested in building an ambulance for the people of Canaries. They're not interested in procuring one. If they did, they would have already. The only politician in this race who is concerned purely about providing an ambulance for the people of Canaries is myself. And the reason why is because when things were tight with our government, I went out and took the bull by the horns and tried to raise the money privately so that we could replace the ambulance for the people of Canaries. Wayne Gerard has been in government for 4 years. Where's the ambulance? Why hasn't he built on the fundraiser that we have done, saying, well, okay, we're trying to get to $100,000. There's already almost 30,000 or 30% of the money.
Yeah.
Why didn't he decide with John Victorine, who is now the CEO, he ran against me in 2016.
Yeah.
They could have knocked their heads together and say, well, let's now raise some funds. Dominic Fede has started a good thing, and from this good thing, we're going to build on it and we're going to complete this project because it's a worthwhile project for the community. But it's all about politics for those guys.
Yeah, and especially since, there was no shortage of funds. You have CIP, billions from CIP, and we paid 2.5% levy on goods and services that was supposed to go partly
To health and security.
Health and
Yeah.
security. So there's no excuse, no reason why there should not have been an ambulance by now. Not to mention he could have also undertaken fundraising activities as
Yeah.
well.
But
Yeah.
I tell you, I'll say something to you. They have been very clever in how they have introduced this information. They have never came out and said that I stole the ambulance money, because they know that that would be libelous and scandalous, and they know differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they know that there's all, because if we get into a court case, right, then I can go on SSDF will have to provide the information to the court as part of one of my exhibits. So they know fully well that the monies are there. But what they're doing, Spider, is that they continue to ask a question, hoping that by asking this question many times, the people of St. Lucia will then automatically assume and believe and form their own judgment that, hey, something went wrong with this, so therefore someone stole the money.
Okay, so I will take this opportunity to say to Wayne Girard, stop asking the question, because it has been answered. And if you have not heard the answer before, this morning you're getting the answer. Acquaint yourself with what the situation is if you genuinely do not know, and stop asking the question. Spend your time instead as parliamentary representative of ancillary canneries, telling the people what you have done and what you will do. And I think that would be a far better utilization of the time that you have, for which we, the taxpayers, are giving you a salary. I certainly think
no,
so.
you're absolutely correct. And what this is that, Spider, service is still the fundamental thing when you are going into politics. Good politics is good service. I left Wayne Girard and the St. Lucia Labour Party an absolutely phenomenal foundation for them to build on. Spider, we built a hotel in the village tourism project.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking to you and I have goosebumps from the Taiwanese ambassador coming to Ancillary and presenting. We did like a handover of the funds to start the project. And these were some special moments, because I saw from there that Ancillary and canneries could take off. So we built a 10-room bed and breakfast hotel. We built a restaurant. We built the fish fry building. And the whole idea, Spider, was that there are many people that want to get into the tourism business. But it is difficult for them to get into the tourism business because of cost.
Yeah.
To build a small hotel, I mean, you know what I'm talking about.
That's right.
Firsthand, right?
Yeah, firsthand.
It's very difficult to come up with hundreds of thousands of dollars. So by government putting in the infrastructure, by putting in restaurants and villas and hotels and so on, people can then lease these facilities to own them, right? And it becomes easier for people to get started and get into the business. That is the model we left Girard, and we left him a couple of projects to show him how this can catalyze economic development in ancillary canneries, especially within our mainstay, main economic driver, tourism.
But
So much so, Spider, that there's a family that has a wonderful facility, a colonial-looking house next to where we built the bed and breakfast. They get it straight away, and they are now investing and building up their family home and converting it into a tourism dwelling facility. So this is what we were trying to do, and it is working. But instead of opening the bed and breakfast facilities, now 4 years, right? 4.5 almost. He has not done it.
Well, I think he'll do it because
He has not
election is
opened the
up-
restaurant.
Election is approaching, and he has not been around.
He has
for the
not
4
he
years.
has not done it.
Yeah.
So what they have done is that they have robbed Ancillary of a lot of potential. They've robbed the people of jobs. They've robbed people with business acumen to invest in these facilities, so that we can decentralize the tourism product and cause more communities to benefit from it. We left them the designs for the market in Canneries. They have not done it. He has not opened up the facility. The West Coast Bridge project was well on its way. I remember while we were in government, working with the parish of Ancillary, the Catholic parish, to acquire lands and get their permission so that we can widen the bridge. We had to work on relocating people from the living by the bridge of Ancillary, as well as acquiring land in another location to relocate those individuals. All that was done in our time. Wayne Girard comes and he's claiming the Ancillary Bridge. You know, the West Coast Road project, Spider, you will remember in the cabinet that you and I sat, we made sure that this was one of our key projects. The cul-de-sac bridge, St. Lucians will remember, was already built. Many months, almost a couple of years before the West Coast Road was finished. So I want to say, Spider, that I am looking forward to being re-elected in the constituency of Ancillary Canneries.
Okay, but talking about that, I mean, I think an election is imminent. We're into our 5th year now of the SLP's reign. But what does it look like in the constituency? I mean, with the upcoming general election, what do you think are your chances?
Well, Philip Pierre told you, in Babylon.
To judge by what he said.
He said to Wayne Girard, look, you need to double your efforts. You need to get out on the ground. You need to start from tomorrow, he said, if I had to quote his speech. So I feel very comfortable. I'm not taking anything for granted. We continue to organize ourselves, do our work. I have an amazing campaign team. I want to thank all the canvassers. They're doing a tremendous work. We've been at this, Spider. Our formal campaign would have started some 8 months ago. We've been on the ground, making sure that we knock on every door, talk to every constituent as much as we can, and we continue to push and make sure that the Ancillary Canneries constituency come home to the United Workers' Party.
So in a nutshell, you're saying you're confident of a victory?
Oh, we're definitely bringing Ancillary back to the United Workers' Party. The people have made up their minds. Wayne Girard has been an absolute failure. Spider, the Millet Infant School was left vacant after the infant school was merged with the Millet Primary School. And this was because of declining population. It's happening all around St. Lucia. Rather than looking at this facility and saying, what can we do with it to improve the conditions socially and economically for the people of Millet, Wayne Girard has left this facility abandoned. And what has happened is that now Bush has overgrown this facility. The community have become so incensed that they're doing a coup de main very soon to now to clean up this facility, because they feel that this is a total disgrace. But what I want to say to the people of Millet now is that when we get in, Spider, we will turn this facility into an agro-processing facility for the people of Millet, because you know there's so much agriculture that is going on, so many fresh produce that we have in Millet in abundance, and very often the farmers don't have a market for those. So we're going to get into processing these and take them to market, having put the added value. We believe that this will create a significant amount of jobs for the people of Millet, in addition to creating a very, very secure market for the farmers.
Okay, but I mean, since you're into plans for your constituency, which you have actually started telling us already, what are the other plans you have for Ancillary Canneries? I mean, which includes Millet and the other areas that you were talking about.
Well, what I want to do, Spider, I don't want to preempt the manifesto. We have a very solid manifesto committee. I'm very blessed in the constituency of Ancillary Canneries, where we have very intelligent people. You know, on my team, we have an economist, we have an engineer, we have a guy who has had numerous private sector experience. We have a well-rounded team of people that are bringing their expertise to bear in a number of areas, whether it's education, whether it is transportation, and so on. So, but if I can give you a few things to to expect. We're going to make sure that the agriculture sector comes back in a really big way. It might not necessarily be bananas, but we're looking at a few alternative crops. As you know, Spider, in the heyday of agriculture, Roseau Valley, all the lands stretching from the Roseau area going into Mondo, Vanna, into the Techime area, represented about 35% of banana exports were in the heyday of bananas. So we want to now bring back this area as a cradle of agriculture. So the experts are pretty busy working on different options, different crops that we can go into. I don't want to preempt the manifesto. I'll be launching more extensively a massive plan for the constituency.
Okay.
The Toulager Beach in Ancillary, which is the beach behind the Seventh-day Adventist Church at Otabar in Ancillary. And that beach, Spider, while I was in government, we had cruise ship passengers coming on that beach. We would bus them from Castries. We had beach chairs. We had a bar facility. We had a grill. We had a small guy doing water sports. So there were so many different business people that were benefiting from it, the guys that were renting chairs, the vendors, and so on. But there was also 24 jobs that were being supported by the Toulager Beach facility. We're going to bring this back in a very strong way. This is something that Wayne Girard should have done. It was closed because of COVID, but 4 years the COVID restrictions have been laxed, and the world has recovered phenomenally from tourism. So while St. Lucia is talking about growth, Wayne Girard did not ensure that his constituency continued to benefit from the tourism project. Spider, while I was minister, I made sure that Ancillary had ARC. If you look, the Atlantic Rally for Cruises is one of the community events they do. They go to Ancillary every single year for 2 or 3 events, as well as jazz. West Coast Jazz was something that never existed before the United Workers' Party administration when I represented them. They had a few years that they lapsed, but I think they brought it back on last year. But there's still a lot left to be desired. I think that by now we were supposed to have become a staple within the Jazz Festival, where Fordor and where the place down in the south, Balambush, had become that popular location outside of Pigeon Island. We had the capacity to become that. But, you know, leadership is what is required to drive these things, to make them happen, and not a guy who's going to be absent from his job and then come at the last minute because he knows that there is an election that's imminent, and then says, hey, I'm here, I want to represent you, I'm better, and this guy is bad. You know, that kind of politics, people are fed up with that. So we are going to work as well, Spider, on a comprehensive housing assistance plan. In Ancillary Canneries, a number of people are building their own homes. It is very difficult for them to face a bank and get mortgages. A lot of people don't qualify. So we're going to have a very radical plan. My job is to encourage and to work with my colleagues nationally for us to hopefully have a more comprehensive national plan to make sure that Ancillary Canneries can benefit from that. I am very excited that the United Workers' Party we've announced that Sir Arthur Lewis will be free. And that is going to make a tremendous difference to a number of families within the constituency of Ancillary Canneries. A number of people just can't afford the tuition fees. And this is big for us. And so we're happy that the political leader, Alan Shastney, has seen the wisdom in announcing that as one of the policies for the United Workers' Party, to educate the people to become the first political party that when we assume the next government, we will create history to make sure that the people of Ancillary Canneries, the people from all over St. Lucia, are going to have free tertiary level education. So
where you come from to by and large agricultural community, I know you've been pushing tourism and you all have made some strides, and And you talked about the hotel, the community hotel, and so on, and the restaurant I know of as well, and so on. But predominantly, historically, ancillary canneries has been agricultural. Now, I know among the policies that were enunciated by the political leader, Alan Chasney, is that given the fact that the banana farmers were the ones who literally built St. Lucia after independence, the economic fortunes of St. Lucia were carried on the backs of banana farmers in the days of green gold. But many of those farmers now would be elderly and unable to farm anymore and so on. But Alan Chasney has announced that one of the policies would be to provide a pension from NIC to those farmers who can no longer work, whether or not they contributed to the NIC, and those who have passed away, their families would be entitled to a one-off payment from the NIC. That is not just only to show appreciation for how they have contributed to building our country, but to provide assistance to them and they're concerned about their welfare as people who have made their contribution. I imagine your constituency would benefit from this tremendously, given the fact that
Yeah. Well. Of course, I think that this is such a wonderful gesture on the part of the United Workers' Party to make sure that the people who have built this country, before tourism, it was the farmers who built our institutions, who built our roads, on whose backs we built schools, and on whose backs we built ports. And so the farmers have made such a significant contribution towards the development of our country. And it is only fitting that we reward them. A lot of them in Roseau can't afford to keep their lands. So there's a lot of selling of agricultural lands that are happening. And this is because the St. Lucia Labour Party have failed to revitalize agriculture. And unless you can make agriculture a viable business again, it is going to be very difficult for someone with a surgery who need to go away for a medical emergency, and they have this asset that they can leverage to sell. But we should never ever put the farmer in such a position. The farmer has been placed in such a position where it is no longer economically viable for him to keep the lands. And his children, who perhaps did not get involved in agriculture as much as he did, does not have the same appreciation for that sector. And then there's not the same appreciation for the land. Yeah, so we need to make sure, Spider, that there's a land use policy that is going to safeguard our agricultural lands going forward.
Well, that brings me, Dominic, to another policy you talked about.
Which is the health insurance, yeah.
You talked about having to sell your land to see about your health, which is a real situation. But
correct.
I imagine, if you can speak a little on the national health insurance, that should, avert a situation like this.
Correct. So now, instead of the farmer having to sell his land for a medical emergency, the farmer can now get national health insurance, which is up to $75,000 that the farmer can benefit from. And every single St. Lucian listening to this broadcast can benefit from a $75,000 health insurance coverage for the first time ever in St. Lucia. This will happen under the United Workers' Party. And this is why I'm so proud of our team for coming up with these policies. And these are just some of the policies, Spider, that we have announced, and there are more to come. And there's more to come in ancillary canneries as well. I want to say to the people of ancillary canneries that the idea of a call center is not an original idea from the Labour Party. And I want to say to them that we will build a call center when we get into office. This is not a promise that we're making. This is us interested in sustainable jobs for the people of ancillary canneries. I want you to ask Wayne Girard, how many long-term jobs has he created in the constituency? The answer is zero. And the reason why he's fighting the bamboo rafting facility is because the staff from bamboo rafting go to the Roseau village and they are well respected. They go there and they buy out the bars. They, you could see they're people that have money because they're working. They get big tips and they can afford a decent lifestyle. They can do something with their lives. And so this is important. So it's important, Spider, that in these rural communities that we make sure that there's a strong local economic situation that is taking place within our rural communities. So which is why I'm big on, we can't have everything in Grosley and Castries. You know, it's already overcrowded. I mean, I drove from the north this morning and the traffic was just so horrendous. And regardless of, and it's expanding rapidly.
Yeah.
And we have to continue now to think of going down south and going east and going west in terms of the expansion of our country and the expansion of economic opportunities. So, Spider, I'm telling you that when we return to government, we are going to establish a call center facility within the ancillary canneries constituency. We've looked as well, the manifesto team, at transportation. So if someone was going to the Canneries Primary School and they were living in Aslavadi, which is where Place Cassav is, there are no buses, school buses to take them. Or if they're living in Belvedere, which is the community going to Soufriere on top where the cemetery is, there are no buses to take them to Canneries. But the students from Belvedere, they have a bus to go to Bouton, which is in another constituency. So if we can do that from Belvedere to Bouton, then we can do it from Belvedere to Canneries, and we can do it from Anslavadi to Canneries. So we got to make sure that these buses are there at all times. I want to thank Gerard for listening to me and jumping very quickly and cut the grass at the side of the road in Techime. Now, the people there were complaining for years about snake bites because Techime is a snake-infested area. And, you know, the people there, they have a tradition of keeping their place clean, the yards and so on. Now, if the government cannot do its part by simply keeping the roadside clean, then you're endangering the life of so many citizens. So there have been reports of increased snake bites. And Gerard has just allowed these complaints to go unheeded. And so what has happened now is that we are in a situation where he's scrambling to do everything at the last minute. So you hear me talk about the Millet Infant School. I'm going to send you a pic of him getting some guys to go there and work to try to clean up the infant school. Because that's the only thing they respond to. They have just left the constituency behind. Spider, when we were in government, the Jack Mill Field, I remember bringing Kent Crofton, who is the curator at the Bossejou Cricket Stadium. And I said, Kent, I want this field to be international as Bossejou. I want this to be the best outfield. Ken Crofton said, no problem. We did the preparatory works, the base. The northern end of the field was quite swampy. We did the drainage, redesigned the field. And Spider, we came out with a beautiful facility. Now, COVID came and sporting fields were closed. The people couldn't use it. We started putting the lights. We put the platform for the lights in Jack Mill. We were getting the money as a funding source from the Ministry of Tourism. And what we were doing was, it was a sports tourism project. Wayne Gerard goes and tells the people of Jack Mill that where in Jack Mill could there be sports tourism? And instead of continuing the project, he allowed the project to run into difficulties. And then now, what is happening? He's scrambling at the last minute to put lights. Everything for the Labour Party is last minute. to try to win an election.
Probably Wayne was misinformed. He wasn't told that it was a 5-year job he had. He thought it was only the 5th year.
The 5th year. He's the minister of the 5th year.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know you have a very impressive record in terms of what you have done, and you spoke about some of the things that you intend to do.
Look, I mean, look, I think that when you're in government, service is the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, we built the Jackmel preschool. Lost the election, Wayne Girard cut the ribbon. We built the ancillary health and wellness center. Lost the election, Wayne Girard cut the ribbon. We designed and created the finance for the canneries market.
Mm-hmm.
Wayne Girard get to complete it, and I don't know whether this project is ever going to finish. A very simple market in a little village.
Yeah.
Spider, not a big project at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's been going on now for 4 years. They cannot get it done. They cannot complete it. It's just been a disaster. We left a village yachting project for the people of Canaries in an area called Lachi. Some of the most beautiful reefs that you could find in St. Lucia exist there. And nothing. You know, I think sometimes with the Labour Party, if Alan Chasney or Guy Joseph or Dominic Fede starts something, let's not do that. Let's victimize it, like the Rodney Bay Road, for example.
Yeah.
You know, and what happens is that the people of St. Lucia, they are the ones that pay for this kind of vindictive politics from the St. Lucia Labour Party. But Spider, I have a very good feeling, and you know, I'm looking forward to being re-elected to work with the people of ancillary canneries. We want to improve the transportation. We want to make sure that we bring back agriculture in a big way. We want to make sure that we create long-term sustainable jobs through leveraging the wonderful tourism facilities of ancillary canneries. When you look from Marigot all the way down to Buta, some of the most gorgeous beaches exist in St. Lucia, are in the ancillary canneries region. We're going to continue to look for investors to try to invest in tourism facilities to create jobs for the people of ancillary canneries. We will bring back the Toulager Beach, which is something that we got started quite easily so that the people can go there. We will improve the roads, create facilities for vendors, and there are several other attractions that we will leverage, from bringing back the River Rock waterfall. I mean, I remember this gentleman who has been trying his best to get this facility going. But the roads going up to the waterfall are in a complete mess, and nothing has been done. But you remember that ancillary waterfall being one of the most popular.
Yeah.
A number of tourists did go to it, and it was really a good economic lifeline for the people of ancillary. So we have to work towards bringing these facilities back so that we can create not just a bounce and draw culture, but create a long-term sustainable plan for the people of ancillary canneries. We have a plan as well to get the grades up. We will work on different programs to get families and parents involved in the education of young people, so that parents can reinforce what the teachers are doing in our schools within the constituency of ancillary canneries, so that we can do better at CPEA and we can do better in some of the examinations like CXC and so on. We've got a lot of talented young people, but we need to continue to support them. I am very happy. I want to re-emphasize the importance of Sir Arthur Lewis being free in that regard. So that is going to help significantly.
But I just want to touch on one of the other 7 policies that were announced at the rally in Mikun, and I do not know if you sufficiently south for it to benefit your people, but there is also that announcement that there will be no
dredging
fees for people in the south, since they do not benefit from it. Now I know the the dam is in Roseau, really, like in the Millet area and so on.
My constituency is split right down the middle. So people living in Ancillary, they have their own water resource.
Amazing.
People living in Aslavadi, Canneries, as well as Belvedere, they're not going to have to pay the dredging fee.
Okay.
So if you're listening and you're from these areas, the dredging fee which you're paying right now under the St. Lucia Labour Party administration, that will be removed from your water bill. So you should see a decrease in the amount that you're paying for water, and that is going to be a significant help to many families. But in reducing the cost of living for people, I think it's important to also announce the 2.5% tax levy that we will be removing from the people of Ancillary Cannery, so that they can have more money in their pockets. You know, Spider.
Yeah, I think the reduction of the gas price also will go toward reducing cost of living.
Correct.
As well. So
Correct.
all told, when all of these put together are implemented, the people should get some reprieve.
Should get some reprieve. Now, if you look at how these policies will affect people's economy, so you're reducing the tax.
Yeah.
You're reducing the dredging fee. You are reducing the tuition fee for Sir Arthur Lewis. You're subsidizing that.
Right.
And then now you're coming with a very strong economic plan to create jobs for people.
Reducing the gas prices.
And reducing the gas prices. So cost of living under the United Workers' Party will decline significantly.
But forgive me if
you see, I'll tell you something. We don't operate to say inflation is imported. And because inflation is imported, we put our hands up and there's nothing we can do about it. We're problem solvers in the United Workers' Party. And so I am very confident, Spider, that we will reduce the cost of living. We will reduce the taxes on the backs of the people of St. Lucia. You see, we have to stop this tradition that governments have. And what governments tend to do, they come and they just put on a tax on you, the people. And without no new productivity, no new service, nothing new, they just take your money. And that is not right. What gives you the right to take someone's money just because you're the government? And you're not providing any new service. You're not doing anything new. The health and security tax, crime, and healthcare are both progressively worst and are still in a very bad shape.
Do not be surprised.
Yeah.
Do not be surprised if in the claims for re-election, the St. Lucia Labour Party tells you, well, we took more money to take care of security and crime increased. But is that what you want? You expect when that money is utilized, that crime will decrease.
That's right. And government, we must accept that government is the most inefficient vehicle through which to manage and administer programs.
Sorry, Mr. Fede, Mr. Montoot. Don't mean to interrupt. Yeah. I know this is going great and we have so many topics that we're touching on, but I just wanted to update you a little bit here. I'm watching the YouTube and we're streaming live as well, so we have some people, in the comments. It's 10 o'clock, by the way, in St. Lucia and the rest of the Eastern Caribbean. We have a lady here all the way in Toronto. I believe she's a St. Lucian, though, but she lives in Toronto. She says one thing. No, this is someone else. She said, I've said it before and I'll say it again. A healthy country is a rich country. Another person here is saying, one thing I'll vote for is my health insurance. All right, because that's a topic you touched on just now. Yeah. And someone also said, I'm hoping my people will see the light, take off the blinders, open your eyes to see the light with the government in waiting. All right, so just giving you an update there on what some people are saying. Also, if you want to check us out on the WhatsApp and send your questions, because I'm sure you have some, 2870971 is the WhatsApp. Sorry to interrupt there just now, because I know the conversation
that's welcome.
Oh, thank you so much. And what a beautiful voice to interrupt. I mean, that was quite refreshing rather than Spider and myself just going at each other. So that's what they call beautiful radio.
Thank
right?
you. Appreciate it.
Your uncle would have said you have a face for radio. We used to make that joke in the media.
Yes.
Whenever, but that's not a compliment, by the way.
Oh no.
If someone has a face for radio, you know what I'm saying? You would have a face for television, but not a face for radio. But I mean, that doesn't apply to you. You're obviously a better looking young man than that. I'm just kidding.
Thank you. I know we're not ready for calls just yet either, but once we are, I'm gonna open the phone lines and let some people.
No problem.
So I was saying to you, Spider, that we have to be accountable. That if you're going to take people's money, then what's going to be the return? What new service will you add? How are you going to run their business? Because, you know, when you served the people of Grosley, you weren't the boss. You were the chief servant.
Yeah.
That's what the minister is. A minister is a chief servant. And we have to look at it that way. We are accountable to people. We only serve at the privilege of those who vote for us.
Well, the current minister and parliamentary representative of Grosley is a self-servant. You know, he's engaging in self-service. You have seen the tremendous strides he has made in terms of the accumulation of wealth in the last 4 years. But it is not that what is happening in Grosley is not commensurate with his personal aggrandizement. We have not seen that kind of benefit for the people of Grosley. And he, as a young man, came into the politics and he does not understand what transparency or accountability means. He does not answer questions, not realizing that it is our tax money that we are questioning him about. And he has to be accountable to the people as a public figure. Because at the end of the day, if you are asked how you come about all the wealth that you have, if there are suspicions and people are asking questions, you owe it to the people to answer. But that is not a matter that will go unchecked, and we're not going to rest until he recognizes and understands he has to account, especially when there are times when almost a whole year we do not have an integrity commission constituted by the St. Lucia Labour Party, where, you know, it makes it a free-fall, and, you know, these are the things we can account. But I want to change gears a little bit. We're still on the 7 areas.
Yes.
You talked about health, education, farming,
2.5%.
cost of living.
Yeah.
But one of the main, I'll say one, okay? Because depending on who you talk to, when you talk to older people like me, health is a big thing, you know? But crime for everybody, big and small, crime.
Oh my God.
Is a major matter. I mean, what is there? Okay, what policy is the UWP advancing to address the issue of crime? Because that is a critical, crucial matter. Without safety, all of the other things you're talking about.
Well, I know that we will enshrine that that there must be a K9 unit at all times, and that is to make sure that when through our ports, whether the airport or seaport, that we can do a better job at intercepting the guns before they come into the country. You see, everything that Philip Peer has said has to do with response to crime or criminal activity that has already happened.
Right.
But what we need to focus on is a more proactive approach on how we prevent crime from happening. I mean, if you allow yourself to smoke, you're giving yourself cancer, but you can prevent lung cancer by perhaps choosing not to smoke.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do, Spider, is to make sure, A, that K9 unit becomes a very strong institution for solving crime. So, for example, guns coming in at customs, right? So you have your K9 unit, you have your scanners, not either or, but both, so that if the scanners miss the consignment of illicit drugs or guns or whatever it may be that's illegal and that's coming in, that we can intercept it. What I do love, though, is that the holistic approach that the United Workers' Party is taking towards crime. And that is, we said that, look, given where we're at with the crime crisis, we need to establish a command center for fighting crime.
Yeah, well, yeah, talking about that.
And
we had something similar during COVID.
We had.
And remind me, who was the chairman of that command center again?
Yours sincerely.
Okay.
Yours sincerely.
Right.
And one of the things I learned is that when you're dealing with a crisis, you can't behave as if it is normal times. So I guess the normal approach to dealing with something like that, they would have monthly meetings. We had meetings, briefings every single day, because what we were doing, we didn't want to respond to problems, but we wanted to preempt problems and get ahead of them.
By the way, let me interrupt you to say you did a remarkable job as chairman. I don't think St. Lucia has, expressed its gratitude sufficiently, because we're not talking, as important as agriculture and tourism and other things you're talking about here, what we're talking about here now was life and death.
It was life and death. Was life and death.
Yeah.
And it was something that I took extremely seriously. I recognized that there was a significant burden on my shoulders, and we couldn't fail. We had to make sure that we protect the people of St. Lucia.
So, you mentioned the command center again. What I am talking about there is also life and death, the crime situation in this country. So you're saying. So
we need a command center.
Yeah.
And that command center, we need to bring together the relevant agencies, because it's not the police alone. The police needs so much more.
That's right.
They need legislation. They need customs to do its job. They need
social
the
programs,
quarantine agriculture facility. They need immigration. They need a whole host of things. So border control was an agency that we were working on. And that program would have brought together all the border agencies. So immigration, quarantine, customs, all of them would have worked more synergistically together, so that instead of customs doesn't know what the police is doing, the Marine Police, or customs doesn't know what the immigration department is doing, all of them would have an increased information sharing. People take it for granted that government institutions share information, They do a pretty bad job at it.
Yeah.
And so what we got to make sure is that we create a framework where they can work more seamlessly together and to cohesively bring together a crime fighting strategy where everyone is singing from the same hymn sheet. There needs to be a common sense of purpose going forward if you're going to solve some of these things. The Ministry of Infrastructure, vitally important. I'm hearing, for example, that some criminals got government contracts, and I hope that that's not true, but we've got to. I think the Prime Minister was asked that, and I think he said, don't you believe in second chances, is what he said when someone asked him about the who were the contractors on a certain project. Now, quite conversely, the Prime Minister in Jamaica, Andrew Holness, whilst launching a government project, said to the criminals, the dons, that look, you take your eyes off of this project, because in the past, criminals have used government contracts to finance their illicit activities, to finance buying of guns, buying of drugs, to finance or to facilitate the laundering of monies that were gained from trafficking and so on.
It was a form of empowerment through government.
It was a form of empowerment through government of criminal behavior. So the government became a facilitator of crime. That Kenny Anthony referenced in his speech when he said that the impacts report revealed that crime in St. Lucia is facilitated by politicians,
business people,
government officials, business people, and I forgot the last one. Government officials, politicians, business people, I can't remember the other one. And police officers. So then there needs to be a comprehensive plan. We have seen Jamaica's success. They weren't afraid of making sure that certain parts of Jamaica went on the consistent state of emergencies. There were times that they had partial emergencies to make sure that these areas were under control. And that's the only way that you can do it. There needs to be an assault in the short term to make sure that there is a short-term plan
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that you keep the criminals under control. But then your long-term programs, your social programs, they have to work in tandem as well. Because the little boy growing up in Ansley or growing up in Jackmail or growing up in Grosley, we need to show him how he can legally get a future, how his dreams can come true legally. But if it is that he's going to grow up in poverty and he's going to see his mom work hard, certain jobs and do a night shift, but is still poor, then there's no incentive for him to want to do that. So we have to create a dynamic enough economic space so that the young people of St. Lucia can feel free economically, rather than feeling imprisoned by poverty. And I think when people feel imprisoned, that's when they react. That's when they start to behave and the outbursts and they explode from within. So yes, we've got to fix the economy. Yes, we've got to make sure that we have the relevant social programs to intercept the would-be criminals socially. And as well, I think that the churches have an important role to play in all of this.
Yeah.
You know,
The schools
Spider,
as well. Yeah.
very crucial role to play in all of this. The churches must come to the table, and that's one of the things I loved with NEMAC when we were doing COVID. And it brought together civil society groups, government agencies, the private sector bodies, and we all sat there and we made a decision collectively during COVID.
But
And we're saying now that hotels are being affected. They're not saying it. They have to sweep it under the rug because no one wants their brand to be associated with an armed robbery.
Yeah.
But if you look at the Hotels Association letter recently to the police commissioner, they said that they're very concerned about increased criminal activity taking place in the Rodney Bay area.
Yes, but you see, again, Dominic, people like myself speak predominantly of murders as if there is no other criminal activity taking place. But there are other serious crimes that are taking place, crimes that are threatening our economic survival.
That's right.
What you just mentioned there can, in fact, destroy our tourist industry.
Correct.
Yeah.
And, you know, look at how many, it would be important to look at how many robberies have gone bad. So maybe a guy came to rob you at gunpoint, but he don't intend to kill you.
Right.
But the gun is just a force for him to instill fear so that you can give up your property
Right.
and your belongings. But then that can go bad,
Yeah.
and that can turn into a homicide.
Yeah.
So then you see there's a very close link between economic circumstances and the senseless killings that is taking place in our country. So we have to make sure. And then the drugs, the turf, and so on, and the need for guns to protect turf, and so on.
Yeah. But
It's something that we have to fight against.
I hear UWP speak extensively on border control and canine units and so on, and it sounds to me like that will go a long way in the first place curtailing the entry of the drugs and the guns into the country, which should be something that we should focus a serious effort on, because in the first place, if we can keep it out, that minimizes the amount of murders that take place here and the amount of gun warfare that we have here and so on. But I am a little confused because I see that our government disbanded the canine unit when put under pressure, and I'm sure that some pressure came from the French authorities as well, because it has been said that we are a transshipment point into Martinique. So they will be concerned about their own security. But so they would put pressure for the canine unit to be in operation. But plus the opposition put pressure, I must give you all credit for that, and the public. So the canine unit was reinstated, but they killed the dog. I mean, I took the liberty to say they killed the dog because, I mean, even the police said it was a suspicious death. And up to now, we cannot get word, not even on the necropsy, that's the postmortem that was performed on the dog, I mean, you would think that a government, in terms of policies that are straightforward, clear-cut, no-brainer, that those are things that we put in place. Even the scanners, I understand, drunk water,
Now, Spider, this has to be one of the darkest pages in our political history. Have you heard about the autopsy report? Have you heard?
No.
any conclusive report
No.
as to why the dog is dead?
I don't know. I concluded that maybe it takes a lot more to carry out that operation surgery on a dog than it takes for a human.
So the dog died months ago,
Months ago, yes.
buried,
Yeah, well,
and no announcement of the
what
autopsy.
the
Results of the autopsy.
No, there has not been. There has not been.
Do you see what I'm saying?
And they're talking about investigation going on. How long does it take to investigate? We're not talking about something come from space and appeared here, and we're trying to figure out where it came from, you know.
Spider, we're
We
not talking
know
about
who
100
was
dogs.
responsible. Yeah.
We're talking about one dog.
that was in their custody.
How long does it
You
take
know?
to do
You know.
an autopsy?
Yeah.
So why haven't they announced the report? Why haven't they told the people of St. Lucia the cause behind the death of Tyson? Now,
Yes.
when in the absence of information, people will speculate,
Right.
and you know the Prime Minister is famous to say, "Oh, they're in the Sunday Live every week and they're spreading propaganda." But
I'm not spreading propaganda. I'm just asking a question. My question is it cover up? That's my question. Because there's no logical explanation to tell us why that matter has taken so long. But then again, we know that evidence disappears for serious murder cases where human beings were killed. The evidence disappears while in police custody. So, you know, I don't know. And the commissioner wants to tell us, and the Prime Minister wants to tell us that there's no political interference in what's going on. Meanwhile, you have a government minister on television boasting that he has files big so on individuals from the police. He actually said that. And he goes on television and gives the commissioner of police directives, gives the city police directives as to what he wants done and all of that kind of thing. And guess what? Some of it, from what I know, is actually done.
Yeah, but
You know?
but I think that more importantly, Spider, that the Prime Minister must now do some self-introspection.
Well,
And he
Dominic,
must ask himself a very important question, and the question is this:
I'm sorry I'm not with you, Dominic.
After boasting about giving the police jet skis, vehicles, water skis, yeah, vehicles, and whatever else, bulletproof vests.
Yeah.
What does that amount to? What has been the result?
The result. Worsening crime situation. That is the result.
So then,
that's why I said I'm not with you, because my grand aunt used to say something in Creole. She used to say, "Uni es pamal papai." That means you have hopes that a male pawpaw tree will bear a pawpaw. That doesn't happen. Okay, so I'm not with you. If you think you're going to get anything from this Minister of National Security, this Prime Minister, well, you're wasting your time.
Yeah.
You know,
so
the answer is changing him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, we agree there.
Yeah.
But I mean, until he calls the election, he still has a couple of weeks to go.
Well, he can redeem himself by taking the first step.
I can't see him salvaging anything.
No, but he can. He can redeem himself to a certain extent by taking one step that I've suggested to him a long time ago. He, as Prime Minister, should fire the Minister of National Security. That alone will be a form of redemption for him, because whoever he appoints cannot do any worse than he has done, at least.
Yeah. It's been a very poor job. It's appalling. And
you know.
I can't give him any credit, Spider. I can't say that hats off to you here, or I tip my hat. It's just been a total disgrace, whether it's on crime, whether it's on healthcare, whether it's on cost of living. Philip J.P.R. has just been a total disaster.
Well, you see, I don't think I'm being unkind to him.
And what we have done is that he has blocked holes. I'm gonna give a little bit here. I'm gonna give the civil servants a back pay. I'm gonna give a bit of money to this sector. I'm gonna give this one a bit of money. I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. And unfortunately, I think that piecemeal, haphazard approach towards governing a country does not solve the very deep crisis that we have.
But you see, Dominic, use the analogy of parenting. I mean, we as parents, we have children, okay? Your child is unmannerly, out of order, rude and everything. And all you do You go out and you buy him a toy, you buy him a bike, you're not solving the problem. You know, you have to get to the root of the cause of the problem, and you have to use a multiplicity of approaches to get that child to reform and to do right. And it's a similar situation here, where the Prime Minister thinks throwing money, you know, in a brainless way will solve the problem. And I was just saying, I want to try to be kind to him and, you know, to join him in saying, you know, at least we don't have to blame him too much. The man is not a police.
Yeah. But, you know, in Jamaica, they have actually reduced crime by 43%.
Yeah.
And that gives me hope.
Mm-hmm.
And that tells me that the United Workers' Party, we can do this because, you know, just up the road.
Yeah.
And because why I'm confident that we can is because as I speak to my colleagues, you know, the new ones, the old ones, I see a resolve. I see men of purpose who want to drive this country forward, who want to make this country safer. And it starts with that. It starts with a philosophy. It starts with your own intrinsic values. And I think that
I don't want to simplify the matter, Dominic, but or trivialize it. But I must tell you straight, to make better this current situation that we have, there's no invention that has to take place. You know, there's no neuroscience that has to be applied or anything like that. There are some straightforward, tried and tested methods that can be applied that will help solve the situation. You mentioned a few of them earlier. You're talking about border control. You're talking about K9 units. I mentioned the scanners. Your government, our government of Alan Chasney, started the CCTV cameras on the portal. All of those things. The CCTV camera, people may be wondering what I'm talking about. It is a deterrent, and it also helps in the solving of crime. You understand what I'm saying? So all of those simple things that exist already. I mean,
and it's been very helpful in solving a number of cases,
accidents and so on. You know, and so I cannot understand and I cannot accept that the Prime Minister, Minister of National Security, throwing his hands up in the air and saying there's nothing he can do. He gives the police all the thing. I mean, police morale is at an all-time low. You're giving the police all of that, okay? But they cannot even secure evidence that is in their custody. They cannot even keep a dog alive. You understand? That is a crime-fighting tool for us, and that has been so successful for us. I mean, really, the problem is a lot more than just providing resources, and I think the UWP understands that, and that is what is going to make the difference. But Dominic, I mean, I know you have another engagement, but since you're here, why don't we open the line? I know some people want to fire at you, and so
fire at me.
Yeah, well, I'm directing them to you, so I don't get the fire.
Hey, if you would like to give us a call, that's fine. The number is 572-9710. That's 572-9710. You can also call us on the WhatsApp. That's 287-0971. Now, while y'all were talking, some calls were coming through. Let me see if we can answer this one right here. Hello, good morning. You're live on air.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning to everybody. Mr. Fede, did you use government stationery, government time to have fundraisers for an ambulance?
I made that clear, yes.
Thank you very much. Did you turn in monies to a government department in reference to that
I never collected
fundraiser?
I never collected any monies. There was a committee, and the committee turned in all the checks to a government agency called St. Lucia Social Development Fund.
SSDF.
That was back in 2019. You would have to look to see whether their entire financials were audited. So that was back in 2019 we did the fundraiser. I since demitted office in 2021. So we've had, I don't know how many years now. My math is not as good as yours. You sound very smart. So how many years is 2019 to now? 6 years.
All right.
6 years, yeah.
All right. Let me ask you this. These fundraisers were held under what auspices?
of
Was it
the
under your
canneries.
ministry, just tell us, please.
So there was a committee that we put together that made up of people from the constituency and from canneries, and we used the SSDF fund. What you have to recall, caller, is that at that time I don't think it would have been responsible for me to go to a reputable company, request funds for a charity, and not have accountability. And so I made sure that there was complete accountability. Hence, I went to Minister Montoot, who is sitting right next to me. He was the minister presiding over SSDF. And I said, would you be so willing to allow the committee to place all funds in SSDF? Can you guys hold an account for us? SSDF has an infrastructure. They have an accounts department. They have the infrastructure to do that. A little committee in canneries or ancillary, we don't. So therefore, we should not be collecting people's monies. We should put it in a place where it could be accounted for. And I want to tell you, caller, that in 2022, I got a report from SSDF. They outlined all of the companies that wrote checks to them, okay? And then they would have written a check to Royalton to pay Royalton for hosting the event. That would cover food and beverage costs and the rental costs of the ballroom at the Royalton Hotel. So all of this would have been done, all payments would have been made through the SSDF office for our expenses from our various suppliers. Are you following me so far?
No, because the
You're
question
not
I really
following.
want to ask you.
Yes.
The question
Okay,
I
caller,
really want
ask your
to
final
ask
question because we want to have other callers as well.
you, that money, as per government statute, must be audited before it goes into any government account. Did you audit that money with a recognized auditing company in St. Lucia? That's the question I want to ask you.
Okay, thank you very much, caller.
So caller, leave him on the line. My good friend, it is now some 6 years. I have not been in government. Okay, are you there?
I am listening to you.
Okay, so
Carefully.
if the individuals who are really concerned about the ambulance fund, you know what they have to do? They simply go to SSDF and ask SSDF what is the amount of money. Why don't you go and ask
And
SSDF?
by the way, I
how
can tell
much
you
money there is
SSDF's
there?
account has to
And
be
so
audited.
I have said to you that there is $29,000 at SSDF, but you guys are more interested in making this a political thing rather than doing all the things that is important. If you are really interested in the accountability of this, you would have gone to SSDF, asked, first of all, establish, is there monies at SSDF? Can you confirm whether there is monies at SSDF raised for the ambulance fund? Yes or no? That is the most important answer right now.
And you
Now,
might want to provide Honorable Wayne
because here is the
Girard
thing.
with that
Here is the
information.
thing. If you are trying to say that something happened, then what happened? But the thing about it, the Labour Party can never come out, caller, and say that Dominic Fede or anybody else associated with the fundraiser did anything untoward, because they know that that's not true. So what they have done is that they kept asking questions. Where is it? Where is it? Well, I've answered that questions a million times. But they're not interested in the real answer. They are interested in making this a political thing. But what is unfortunate?
Okay, caller, we have to move on. We have to get other callers.
What is on?
We
What
move
is?
on to another caller now. We cannot have one caller usurp the line like you have done so far. Okay, we are moving on now, caller.
Mr. Ferry,
You know.
was the money that you spent, the profits and audit audited before it was turned into a government agency? That is the question. By law, that is what you're supposed to do.
Okay, thank you, caller. Thank you very much. That's enough.
All right, thank you for that call. You can keep calling on the WhatsApp.
The caller is not interested at all
He's wasting
as to
our time
whether
now.
the money is at SSDF or not.
Okay, let's
Call
move on.
SSDF and call me back and tell me how much did they tell you is there. Mr. John Victorine, who is the CEO of SSDF, is a very well-known St. Lucia Labour Party operative.
Who's, by the way, a former candidate of the St. Lucia Labour Party. So I doubt he will lie to you.
He knows that the monies are there because I received an account from SSDF as far back as 2022, and I was no longer in government. So
a
all
government
this
minister
semantics,
should have no difficulties getting.
That is correct.
We have another
so
caller on the line.
I want to assure the caller that we did everything possible to make sure that the funds are accounted for, and we did the responsible thing by not having this in somebody's purse, but we made sure that it went into SSDF account.
Yeah, let's get the other caller.
Thank you for that answer, Mr. Fede. Back over to the phone lines. Hello, good morning. You're live on air. Hello.
I want to ask two questions very quick, Mr. Fede. Why do men make laws? Now, I will answer for you to cut time. Men make laws to protect. Men make laws for the laws to protect them against themselves, and the reason for that is because we are our natural instincts. We are predators. We are on top of the food chain. There's no animal in the world that can go against the man, but man himself. So that is why man make laws. And the reason why I say that, because I heard a lot of St. Lucia Labour Party people saying that, everywhere have crime, people cannot stop crime. We know that. We know that people cannot stop crime because our nature is to kill, our nature is to hunt. That is what a man is. We have nuclear bombs that can take out everybody. Now, my other point is, we are looking at crime as a situation now, but we must look at crime where the roots of crime started. The roots of crime started in 1997 when Kenny Anthony came into power, and the led up to 1997. So from 1995, when the SSU was formed, when they used to throw shit on John Compton, that is where crime started. Because before 1996, what was the crime rate? Or before 1995, what was the crime rate? And then we had a thing where Kenny Anthony came in with affirmative action, killed the banana industry, saturated the market to make all his followers came to follow him. He had to feed all those mouths he promised things. And I believe, because when we realized crime from 1997 all the way to 2005, that is 28 years. 28 years, which party that was in power for all those years? 3 terms of Kenny Anthony, 1 of Philip J.P. That's 20 years. Only 2 breaks there UWP had was in 2007 and 2016 with Alan Shastney. So that entire millennium, those 2 decades, 20 to 30 years was Kenny Anthony. And that it was a failed project by Kenny Anthony. And that is why he left so beaten. He said he don't want no monument, because the reason why he don't want no monument, because he created a monster, and at the end he had to be a slave to that monster because he had to feed all those people, and those people doing the same thing with Philip J.P. in the St. Lucia Labour Party, that they have to feed all those mouths. They promised so much things over the years. So the problem is not the UWP administration, because we only had 2 administrations in the 2000s. The problem is from 1997, do the maths. From 1997 to 2005, how many people have died? And that's why I call it a silent genocide. And that is where we have to start from 1997 on. That is when we're going to find the solution. Have a blessed one, brothers.
And I won't even make it worse by
sir.
adding the number of deaths we had after COVID by the deliberate action or inaction of the St. Lucia Labour Party. After the UWP had it contained to about 80, when they came into office, in no time we went up to over 400. Yeah.
That is indeed a fact.
Yeah.
Indeed a fact.
We have some more calls coming through on the WhatsApp. Remember, the WhatsApp is 287-0971. You can also call us in studio at 572-9710. All right, so let's go to the phone lines again. Hello, good morning. You're live on air. This is the opposition.
Good morning, Andre. Good morning, Dominic. I'm not Andre, sorry. I forget his name, though. Andre's son. But
Yes.
that's okay.
No problem.
And Spider, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Morning, sir.
You see your last caller, Spider?
Yeah.
100% agree with this young man. I wish more young men would understand what really happened in leading up to 1997. You see, a lot of people that were considered very peaceful were farmers. You know, farmers were looking out for each other. We all remember the days of Kudme. You understand? Farmers were a technic community. But guess what they did? How would we break Sir John? If Sir John have such might holding people together. This Kenny Anthony and his surrogates, they hatched that plan to divide and conquer, my friend. You know, this is straight out of the book of the neo-Nazis, my friend. We need to understand if you can divide people, you can control them. You know, and this is where we have come today. And let me tell you, anybody can claim that Kenny Anthony is the best prime minister we've ever had. They can. But in what light is he the best? In what light is he the best? You see, they have many best, you know, Spider and Dominic. They have best in doing wrong things, and they have best in doing the right thing. Where is he the best? You know, we need to evaluate a lot of the things that have been said on the programs. And I always like the way Dominic Fede speaks about everything, how clear he puts stuff, because I followed him very well when he was the minister, you know, and that's why he became, I have to say, Dominic, sorry, Alan was a better minister than you. But I guess you learn a lot. You learn a lot being under the wings of Alan. But I must say, you did a darn good job, you know, when it comes to the tourism sector. You see, we need to give respect to where respect is due. What is happening today, guys? Before I leave, I want to make it clear to everybody. And you guys can actually enlighten the people on that. And I wish I would do that a little bit more. You know, what happened in 1997, it happened in 2001, and it continues today again. You see, let's see how much we can discredit Alan Chasney to win the election again. This is all what is happening there.
Not just Alan Chasney, anybody else who's around, and anybody else, in fact, all 17 candidates as much as possible.
Yeah, so we need to be careful as to what we do and what we say. It's very important. Why is it important? Most people think that we need to be like the Labour Party to win an election. I disagree. I disagree totally. Because if ever UWP take that mantra, bread, freedom and justice, I don't support them anymore. Because I don't want nobody to give me a piece of bread every day, my friend. I want to go work for my own bread.
Well, the Labour Party tell you half a loaf is better than no bread. Although they found you with a whole bread. You know.
Well, I just hope people take heed, because you see the young man that speaks there, he's a very intelligent young man, and I always like to listen to him. Okay. You know, so people need to take heed. Have yourself a wonderful day, guys.
Thank you,
Caller.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Before you go, just tell us where you're calling us from, because I see an interesting area code there.
That's I am Andre's friend, man. I'm calling from Canada.
You're calling from Canada. All right. Big up to Canada. Good morning to Canada, of course.
Our St. Lucian.
Yeah, man. St. Lucian living in Canada. Thank you for your contribution. You can keep calling 287-0971. You can also call us on the studio line. All right. Do you want to make any contributions there to his point before we take the next call?
No, I mean, he made a point there. He said Alan Chasney, in his opinion, was the best tourism minister, and Dominic learned a lot from him. And Dominic, he would have Dominic as the second best. Well, you see, that's the thing about it. It's a natural thing. I mean, who you rub shoulders with will influence who and what you become. So when the fact that Wayne Girard is so close to Philip Pierre, we know Philip Pierre has turned out to be worthless as a Minister of National Security. No wonder Girard has turned out to be worthless as a parliamentary representative. It's simple as that, you know. What you're exposed to is what you become. You know.
All right, gentlemen, let's go on over to the phone lines once again. Hello, good morning. You're live on air. This is Meet the Opposition.
Hi, good morning. I'm also calling from Canada.
Hey, Canada.
Canada is in the house. I know this Canadian voice, though.
Yes, you know me, and you know my mother very well.
I know this voice well.
A very unique voice. I don't want to say anything much, but this morning I liked the conversation to a certain extent. But my concern is that too much focus is being spent, too much time is being spent on like what was done and what this one is doing. Mr. Dominic Fede, you represented us for 5 years and you are asking us for another chance. Please, what is it you have in store for the people of Ancillary? What are you going to do for the people of Ancillary? Then I have a great disappointment in many of you politicizing crime. Yes, crime is social, but it's more social than anything else. A child comes from a home before they go to the streets. We have all of us in St. Lucia and abroad. Let's put our heads together. We call it a pandemic, we call it epidemic, whatever we want to call it. It affects all of us, not just the prime minister, right? He has bodyguards. We don't. So not that he doesn't have anything to do with crime, but when we
Caller, can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
In what way have we politicized crime? Because we are asking the person responsible for national security to do his job?
Yes, so he provides resources. We have a police officer, like even my brother.
He has to do more than providing resources, caller.
Yes, I agree. But then what is the call you, Spider? What is the call you making to people that you know?
Okay, I'm not making any, listen to me, I'm going to answer you. I'm not making any call, but my party has. And they have put it out there as to what they're going to do. And me not being any expert in national security but crime fighting, but I have a little common sense, I appreciate the points that they're making, and I can see where it will make a dent. For example, the border control that will be put into place to prevent the guns and the drugs from coming in. For example, the canine units that will be reactivated to sniff out and detect all the drugs, the illicit stuff, and the weapons and all of that's coming in, and the CCTV cameras, the command center that they'll be put in to bring all agencies together to work. I think these are fantastic ideas that I can see making a dent immediately. So let it not be said that the UWP, forget about me, let it not be said that the UWP has not put out ideas and policies to say how they're going to fight the crime situation that we're facing.
Listen to me carefully, sir. I agree, these plans, they are commendable. Oh yes, kudos to you if you get to do them.
Thank you.
However, let's talk about the guns that are already in St. Lucia. Let's talk about the people. Yes,
yeah, let's talk about it.
Yes, of course, if somebody doesn't have a job, they're going to turn to crime. But we know it's more than that. We know it's gang violence, right? We know we need the support of these police officers. Many of them, I'm not going to mention how many jobs do they have. Do they take their job serious? I don't want to put the police trying. Their jobs are at risk, yes. But what I'm saying is we should try our best. Make it more of a social issue because it is more social if anything. Let us, because we have
just one
the
aspect,
voice. People are hearing us, right? Let us, when we get a chance, not like just talk about Philip JP, all of us.
Nobody's just talking about Philip JP. Now, caller, let's be fair.
Let me just be brief because the crime is one thing I'm concerned about, but from being from ancillary, Mr. Minister Fede, what is your plan for your people?
Well, you have not been listening to the program.
All right,
you just joined in, caller.
Caller.
Okay, caller. Have you just joined us?
Hi. Before you go, I don't know if you joined the program late, but
unfortunately, she's gone.
Here is what I've said. If you're still listening, I said we would fix the transportation issue that is affecting the constituency. I said I would establish a call center facility to create jobs for the people of Ancillary. I said I would reopen the Toulaget Beach project, which the Labour Party has left closed for over 4 years. It closed during COVID, and they have not reopened it. And as a result, many jobs and small businesses have suffered. I said that I would bring back agriculture in the Roseau Valley area. We have a comprehensive national plan for agriculture, of which ancillary canneries will fit itself in. And this is massive to save many families from selling their lands and from now living in an unviable situation. I said I would establish an agro-processing facility in the Millet former infant school. I said I would work with families to reinforce the values at schools so that we can increase together in a comprehensive plan to improve the grades of various exams of our students from the constituency. I said that I would make sure that we promote the fact that Sir Arthur Lewis, tertiary level education will be free for the people of ancillary canneries. That is a policy for all St. Lucians, but it also has significant ramifications for the people of ancillary canneries. We spoke about health insurance. We spoke about the removal of the dredging fee for the people of Belvedere and for the people of canneries and Anslavadi and for the people of ancillary as well. Yeah, we spoke about South Louis.
Yes.
Prices and all. But you see,
so
I just want to make a comment.
We went through a lot of stuff, so maybe the caller joined late.
And I just want to say, I have to say it. You see, contributions such as what was just made there inadvertently contributes to the problem that we have. And I'll tell you why I say so. You know, don't talk about Philip Pierre. So we let people off the hook and not hold them accountable and, have them to take on their responsibilities. You talk social programs and all that. Of course, there are social safety net programs, but who's predominantly the agency going to do it? Not government. Who is the Prime Minister and Minister of Finance? Not Philip J. Pierre. So let's not talk about Philip J. Pierre. Of course, we have to talk about him. And when you talk about him, don't politicize crime. Well, caller, you know what? We all have a role to play. We all have a part to play. But the chief and a primary institution for seeing about our national security is government. One of the primary responsibilities of government is to ensure the safety and security of its people. If that is politicizing crime, well, I am not the one who politicizes crime. Crime just happened to be political. So anyway, do you have another caller?
Yes, we do. We have lots of callers, by the way. And if you wanted to, hear the show from the top, it will be available on Facebook. You could go back, you could watch and hear all the topics that was spoken about in Meet the Opposition. All right, so please check that out. It will also be available on YouTube, which we are streaming live from right now.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that announcement, because you see, when you right here on this very program, you're going to tell us we have not talked about what we're going to do and so on. I mean, come on.
Let's go to the phone lines again.
Yes.
Hello, good morning. You're live on air. Hello, Meet the Opposition. You're live. Okay. Well, let's take this other caller here. And we're going live. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Gentlemen, you all are well informed. I think you all are on the right track. However, be careful. Don't say too much. I keep on telling you all that, Don't say too much that it might be used against you all in their manifestos. Let a lot of what is come out in your manifesto. But I find so far, if you all were doing that before, you all would have been in government right now, because you all are really explaining a lot of things, and that I am really happy about. Now, can I only discuss ancillary with you all, or I can go to the north?
You're free to discuss.
So you don't like ancillary, caller? I feel so bad, man.
That's not my area.
I don't know
anything about
I will
ancillary.
need to invite you to come to ancillary to the
Where's your
one of
area?
these nights, so that you can enjoy.
No, not in the night. Not in the night, brother. Not in the night.
We have no restrictions on the topic. So
All right, no restrictions. Go ahead, caller.
Where's your area, by the way?
In the north, what I've noticed is, I would like to speak to the entire United Workers' Party group. I am seeing right now there is a little divide and conquer situation going on there. There's a political chess being played, and you all please don't bite the bullet. Don't bite it. Please focus on what y'all are doing right now, where y'all are dealing with the issues, where y'all debunk the lies, where y'all please do not bite the bullet and take unnecessary little debates. That's not necessary. Please focus on what y'all are doing right now, and this is good. Now in the north, I'm noticing, there's a lot of joking going on, and this should stop. And then the Labour Party should stop doing this kind of thing. I'm seeing where they don't have somebody in the north. Yes, they're telling you to vote somebody that's not on their side. And look, it's confusing. Please, I am saying to all persons who are United Workers' Party supporters, vote yellow Flobu. Respect Labour. We are St. Lucians. Please don't fool the people for a vote. Please don't buy people for votes, because y'all are going to pay. When I say y'all, I don't mean you. in general, you will pay for it. I'm happy about what I'm hearing today. Continue on that line. Continue focusing on issues. You all will do good. Do have a good day, gentlemen.
Caller, you
Thank you
too.
very much.
Thank you for your
very much.
contribution.
Thank
Have
you.
a good weekend.
I was trying to find out where exactly in the north she's from.
It's Castries North. Yeah, it's just
Castries North. Okay, cool. Someone here from the Cayman Islands, Aleutian in the Cayman Islands, say, I'm always tuned in to rev up. Good discussion, Spider. Alrighty then, we have some more calls coming in. Should we take them or do you want to continue on the topics?
No, we can take them.
More calls. All right, here we go. Over to the phone lines. Hello, good morning. You're live on air. This is Meet the Opposition.
Yes, good morning, Spider. Good
Hi, good
morning,
morning.
Dominic. Good morning, Azani. That's Azani there?
Hassani, yes, that's my real name, but they call me Zen too.
Send the DJ, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm Spider. Dominic. There is something I saw on the Facebook this morning, and I need clarification because these are the things that is happening all the time, and you all do clearly on it. I saw this morning something about some friendship pack was sold to Joaquin, and then the Viewport Council have to get permission from lawyer letter and everything like that to use there.
You saw what? Could you come back?
There was a post on Facebook put out where they're saying friendship pack. I think that is where the butcher guy
Going to be
wants
launched.
to get
Absolutely untrue. That was not part of the DSH project. That is a lie.
I just want you all to clarify that because you see, when these things come out, you follow the thread and you hear what people are saying and the amount of insulting remarks that they make. So these are the things.
Thank you for bringing it up. Thank you for bringing it up. You know, we still not steeped in the culture of dealing with those things as yet, which we're supposed to be doing. You're quite right. But I want to say categorically that is absolutely untrue. In other words, let me put it bluntly, it is a lie. That is not true.
I'll say this. The Prime Minister, and I'll say it because I know you have a lot of calls, got up in Parliament and said that the United Workers' Party administration
Borrowed money from here.
No. Sold 1,000 acres of land to Theo King for $1.
And
The
Richard
leader of
repeats
the
that all the
opposition keep getting up and saying,
Yeah.
we never lease Theo King 1,000 acres of land.
Yeah.
For the horse racing track, it was 226 acres, I thought it was. And he provided documents. And the leader of the Prime Minister still said it. And the Speaker of the House
and his spokesman,
never, ever ask him to substantiate his claim with a document.
Right.
And that is what they do.
Whereas ministers are supposed to
Correct.
provide documents to
There you
substantiate
go.
the claim.
And so it's left out there with a bad speaker, a biased speaker, and the people of St. Lucia are none the wiser on a lot of these things.
And the Prime Minister's mouthpiece and the Labour Party's chief spokesman keeps repeating that on a weekly basis. That is El Guapo, Richard Frederick. He keeps repeating.
Spider, when these things come out, especially that one that is new, it seems like it's a fresh thing they bring out.
Right.
Make a news item out of it. Make a news item out of it. Don't sit here and debunk it.
Okay, I agree.
Because
I agree.
we that listen to it, they that is hearing it, but the wider public is not hearing it. So
I'll take personal responsibility to ensure that I carry out your suggestion.
Okay, no problem, bro.
Thank you for calling. Thank you for calling.
Right. Yes, you know that is what is being done right now. Peddle lies, repeat it, like I said at the top of the program, repeat it over and over and over. And so if people keep hearing it, they eventually will believe it. And that is the way of the Labour Party. They did that last time. It worked. It is not going to work this time. You can fool the people sometimes, but you cannot fool the people all the time. So we are going to debunk it. We are going to expose you to be the dishonest, deceitful, deceiving people that you all are. And you're not going to win another election by deceiving people. Do you have another caller?
Yes, we have another caller. I was checking the main line, but for some reason, I'm not hearing the person on that line, so we'll go over to the WhatsApp call. All right, good morning. You're live on air. This is Meet the Opposition. Time is of the essence, so make your contribution.
Okay, good morning to the host.
Good morning.
Loving your voice, my darling.
Oh, thank you.
Good morning, Spider.
Even if I
morning.
don't sound like Zen and Andre and those guys, but thanks.
You're the most welcome.
So it's only Spider's voice you love. I mean, I get very jealous very quickly, caller.
Nice established that
I
you all
love you
media
all
people
all.
have good voices.
We love your voice as well.
Okay. Good show this morning as usual. But I want to respond to the caller who called from the diaspora, the Canadian lady. Let me go back. We need to remind St. Lucians of the vision of Alan Chasney, what he came in with in 2016, pertaining to the security of this country. St. Lucians, we need to keep reminding our people the plan that Mr. Chasney had for that country. Mr. Chasney went in and he did his security measures. He put everything in place. What we never saw in this country. He did the border control. He did the CC cameras, which they never completed. We had the guy who installed that. He was on an interview on one talk show. I can't remember his name, but I remember he came out and he spoke about that. He did the K9 units. He had the scanners. He did the border control. He went in with the police unit. He started implementing the radios. Remember?
Right.
The policemen didn't even have radios in their vehicles. They were using their cell phones. Mr. Chasney went far and beyond. He brought in one of the most important things again, which was the forensic lab.
Thank you.
Kenny Anthony built, and he couldn't not do anything with it. It stayed locked up there, rotting. Okay, Mr. Chasney did all that. That is what we need to fight crime. And what did we see happen? Well, he started it. You all may know the time frame that he started implementing it. I don't know. I can't remember. But I know he did all these things, and we all know that he did it. What was the first thing Philippe Pierre did when he entered as Prime Minister, people of St. Lucia?
Disband the K9 unit.
He discontinued everything.
Yeah.
Mr. Chasney told us the guns that are coming into St. Lucia, where they are coming from. That's why he went into the border control to secure the country. Remember during the COVID, the Venezuelans were trying to leave Venezuela. They entered through Trinidad. That's why Trinidad was in that mess with that crime. Is in a mess with crime now. Why is it the Labour Party supporters are playing a blind eye to what God is showing us? That is what that have the country in the mess it is there with crime. And Philippe Pierre and his government, his administration, his Labour administration refuse to tighten up on those measures. They play a blind eye to it. St. Lucia, ask yourselves, why is it this man called Philippe Pierre, the Prime Minister of St. Lucia, why is it he refused to tackle crime seriously in the country? Stop playing the blaming game and saying no government cannot solve crime. They can. They have all the resources to do it. They choose not to do it. If the former administration came in and they saw the problem and they worked tirelessly putting things in place to protect us and the country, and as soon as the Labour Party came into power, they dismantled everything. We're not even hearing about the forensic lab anymore. St. Lucian, stop playing politics and let us save our country, especially the young people, the future. Stop playing politics. The truth alone that will help us here. Anyway, have a good day.
Thank you very much, caller.
Welcome.
I think
Thank you very much. Thank you.
End of the program now.
Powerful lady.
And so, Dominic, I want to thank you for staying right through with us. But before we end, I want to give you a few seconds to put in your last word.
Well, I'm going to speak directly to the people of Ancillary Canneries. The last 4 years has been nothing but a dismal failure. We've seen representation of the constituency going to an all-time low. We've had a representative who has been very absent. As a result, he didn't make the time to do very important development issues within the constituency, whether it is our roads or simply cutting the grass at the side of the road. The economic fortunes of the constituency has regressed significantly because of a failure by them to open up a number of the facilities that we left them, the mini hotel, the restaurant. All of this will come back under the United Workers' Party. We will revitalize the vigor and put a resurgence of energy into the development of the ancillary waterfront for the people of Ancillary. We will go into canneries and to establish the yachting project that we have started so that canneries can become a tourism village as it could. We will revitalize agriculture, Spider. We will establish a call center facility to create jobs within the constituency. And most of all, we will continue to work with our colleagues nationally to make sure that the promise of the tertiary level education for free, where Sir Arthur Lewis will be for free once the United Workers' Party is elected in the next election. So I thank you for this discussion, this and more. I will be launching a manifesto for the people of the constituency where they can see the plans that we have to develop them, their community, and their lives.
All right, thank you, Dominic. I want to thank all of our viewers and listeners all around St. Lucia in the region, and especially those of you in the diaspora. I want to thank those who called in and contributed to the program. I want to thank Zen, who sat in today in place of Andre. And that thank you came out just like Andre. And I will tell Andre, I hope he doesn't feel bad, that he was more than adequately replaced today.
Replaced.
Yeah. And I was about
the
to
laugh is like it was
represented, And so I want to remind you, listeners, that you can join us on Sunday. We are going to be in Castries East for another Sunday Flambeau Live. And on Monday, you can join me for another program of Like It Is on Hot 7 TV, where we're going to deal with some issues. We're going to put one or two candidates under the spotlight and place some scrutiny on them. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I want to wish you a very good weekend, and I want to say to you all the best, and stay tuned to the United Workers' Party. That is where you get the truth, that is where we shed the light on the matters and issues that are of interest and concern to you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dom.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Mr. Montoot, Mr. Fede, lovely to have you here with us.
Thank you.
In Rev-Up 95.9. Of course, that has been Meet the Opposition. You can check out this episode and more on YouTube and Facebook.